love to win tomorrow more than anything. But if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. We have more opportunities. So just like setting that table of like, don't surrender to that idea that we have to win tomorrow. We would love to, absolutely. But Game 5 is the biggest game of the season because it's the next game on the schedule.
All right, anybody? I found that sort of a startling way to approach. What do you think?
I don't think that when I hear Jayson Tatum speak, that it always computes the right way to how he's actually going to play on the court. Like, right. I associate, when I hear Jaylen Brown talk, I know that talk isn't going to match the play on the court. When I hear Jayson Tatum talk, there's a part of me, I'm like, okay, Jay's talking, but that's not the way he's going to play. I know that doesn't sound right. His demeanor to me has more felt like that since the time that I've known him, since he's been 18 years old.
Yeah. And
that's all. I mean, doesn't make it right, Greeny.
Can I give you just one line from Jaylen Brown? These are the moments that can make you or break you. That's what he said after Game 4 going into Game 5. A much different message than simply, it doesn't matter if we win or lose. We still have another game to play. It's just two different mindsets that also kind of are emblematic of the two different players and their style of play. But it's the last thing I want to hear. It's the last thing I want to hear, because you have to look at this as, we win this tonight, we get it over with, we're done. Because if we don't, we give them even more life, and we got to get back on a plane and play in Dallas. It's the last thing you want to do. The mentality should be win tonight. I didn't even pack for Dallas.
This isn't uncommon, though. I can't remember what loss it was where we were all sitting here talking about Jayson Tatum the same way. It was one of those Game 2 losses.
The Pacers lost.
No, they didn't lose a game.
No, they didn't lose
It was either Cleveland
It was Cleveland or Miami, and he was like, it's not the end of the world.
You guys
and
want
we were
us to
all
win
on fire about Jayson Tatum. And what did Jaylen Brown say after that game? He was like, that's unacceptable. That's not. They always speak. One's like fire and one's like ice. And that's the way that they lead this team. There is nothing more. Actually, there are a lot of things that I hate. I hate this game is important because it's the next game. Whether I'm talking to a college coach that's about to play their rival team and they're like, it's just important because it's the next game. I'm like, no, it's not just important because it's the next game. This is a very important game, but I think you're trying to convince yourself that it's important because it's the next game.
Did someone at this table during the break say, was it you, that this is sort of the message to Joe Mazzulla is trying to impart upon his team, maybe to try and reduce the level of pressure that
Alan
they feel?
said that, but
Alan said
this is a statement by a player and a team that has not delivered in the past.
Right.
And so the idea here is we've been under pressure in playoff settings in the past to close out series and not gotten it done. So let's keep the pressure down. That's what I read as that. The other thing I'll say is Tatum has yet to have a great finals game. I know that he had 31 in Game 3, but it was on high volume shots. It was a good game. He didn't have a great finals game really throughout the 2022 finals. And I'm not saying he needs to have one, but he's averaged 21 points on 37% shooting in now 10-5.
I think he does need to have one, Wendy. It's been 10 games.
It's a good idea. It would be a good idea.
It would be nice.
It would be a good idea. It'd be nice.
It's not
the way
like
Tatum
Luka.
would say it.
If Luka scores 21 tonight, the Mavs have no chance. If Tatum scores 21, the Celtics, they have a lot more pathways to win.
Exactly.
But it would be nice if Tatum had a great finals
We're waiting
game.
for this signature game from Jayson Tatum. We haven't gotten it yet. It would be nice to get it tonight.
Just don't go off of what he says. Go off of how he plays on the court, which I think, JWill, is what you were trying to say.
Look, it is not my place to tell Jayson Tatum what he should say, what he should think, how he should feel, or anything else. But I would like to see someone get up there and bring like some luggage and smash it with a baseball bat and say, I don't even own this anymore.
That's not happening.
I'm not ready to fly to Dallas. My point is, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not. My next trip is going to be to Vegas to celebrate the championship, or to the Caribbean with my family to unwind after the parade. Like, I'm not going. I want him walking up there saying, I'm not going back to Dallas. I have no plans to go back to Dallas.
There's a part of everybody at this table that you just want that extra little anger from Jayson Tatum to tap into that will take his game to the level we all know it could be. You see it in spurts. You just want it to translate to the personality.
Jay, to the point you were making a minute ago, if they lose tonight, they are in trouble.
I hear you. It's a real
trouble.
thing. It's a real thing. You lose tonight, you're back in Dallas with all the momentum going towards Dallas. And that's more pressure to win in a row, and then you have a Game 7. Flip a coin.
You want your words to have urgency, especially when you're one of the leaders of the team. And that's what you want to hear, because everybody else feeds off that.
But to be fair, and I'm not just trying to come to Jayson Tatum's defense, but if he and Joe Mazzulla felt like the team was incredibly tight in their last game, maybe he is just trying to relax the team a little bit with what he says in front of everyone. That has to be, if he felt like they were pressured, felt like they were forcing things, I think he's just trying to get them to settle
This team
in.
has been working towards this for years. They were great throughout the whole season. They were great at home throughout the whole season. I think they're going to be fine. I do not think that they're in a desperate situation at all. Even if they lose tonight, we'll be all over them, but they're not in a desperate. They need one win in 3 games. That's
History
it.
says, right.
Well, I mean, they needed 1 win in 4. Now they need 1 win in 3. If they lose tonight, suddenly they need 1 win in 2.
I agree, and my feelings will be the same.
Watching for tonight from Jayson Tatum.
I just want to see the level of aggression. I want to see the sense of urgency, the desperation that Miguel did not show, cleaning up the apple juice, going to break, right? Like, you want to see this team locked in. I felt like they were very passive, and everything around, hey, we got 3 games to win it. Yes, they do. But in reality, I think you have to win this game at home.
JM, how about the other side, the other superstar? What do we need to see from Luka tonight?
To him be a slightly two-way superstar, which we saw in the last game. Luka in a stance, Luka having defensive sense of urgency. We know Luka's offense is going to be important, but the one thing that can't happen again, similar to Game 3, is he reserves himself on defense to be ready for the offensive end and be efficient on the offensive end. He has to play on both sides of the ball tonight.
And then, Alan, how about Luka's teammate Kyrie? What are you watching for from Kyrie Irving?
Earmuffs, earplugs, whatever it takes. Shut out all the noise. Pay no attention to what's going on around you. You know they're coming after you. You've talked about it. This is going to be one of the toughest games he's ever played, not necessarily just because it's the finals, he's been there, but because of where it's happening in the House of Horrors for him, where he hasn't won in a long time. This is a huge game for him if he can slay the dragon, but block out the noise. Don't listen to it.
Right, he knows it. He knows it very well, and he was willing to talk about it yesterday. Here's what Kyrie said.
I think that's what I struggled with initially, was figuring out how I'm going to be a great player here while winning championships, while also leading a team and selflessly joining the Celtics organization or the cult that they have here. And that's what they expect you to do as a player. They expect you to seamlessly buy into the Celtics pride, buy into everything Celtics, and if you don't, then you'll be outed. And I'm one of the people that's on the outs. I'm perfectly fine with that. You know what I mean? I did it to myself.
That's a fascinating way to approach this. I mean, you're there.
He did it to himself again.
Yeah, you're
Thinking that.
You're at all of this. What do you think of this?
All the ways that he has grown. It's been such a growth move to the Mavericks for him. He's just not over the Boston thing yet. He hasn't been able to beat him there. He hasn't been able to play his best there. He can't stop from tweaking the fans. He can't stop from gesturing to the fans. He can't stop from trying to relitigate what happened during his tenure. He's even referred to, the whole story isn't even out yet. Honestly, with all the passivity that he's got going on in his life, I think there's still a seething that's just below the surface when it comes to Boston.
I think this might be the biggest game of Kyrie's career. And obviously you could talk about Game 7, making shots, but to me it almost felt like there was a lot of pressure on the line there, but there didn't seem that there wasn't the same amount of baggage that came along with it. And the baggage that he's walking into this relationship with, also 2 young players that he was in charge of leading. Right, like Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, how everything ended up in Boston, him inciting different things out of the fan base. It's not loud in here. Kind of yesterday being reflective, but also kind of calling them a cult, and an elimination game in which Luka has to play well, but him being the second guy or one of the lead guys, he has to have a prolific performance. Like it sets up for that type of matchup this evening.
That's the thing. We've seen in this exact series, we've seen Luka play well. We've seen Luka and the rest of the team play well. And what was missing? Kyrie. And where were those 2 games? In Boston. So yes, you're exactly right. Luka can play well. Even other players can step up and hit shots, but it will come down to Kyrie. His aggression, his efficiency, but also his defense. He has struggled defensively at getting stops in his one-on-one matchups. He has to take a stand on that side also.
What do you think, Alan? You were the one who started the conversation here. Clearly, there will be a spotlight on him. No, it's interesting. Jay, you're saying it's the biggest game of his career. I remember before Game 3, so we're talking about a week ago, we were saying maybe this is the biggest game, and he bounced back. He answered that.
The comfort of being home.
He played great in Game 3. Yeah. Can he do it again tonight?
Yeah, it was the comfort of being home. And by the way, what he said, I mean, Celtic pride is a cult. Let's be honest. I mean, this is a history here, a legacy. If you're a fan of that franchise, that's what you believe is the expectation of winning. That comes with it. Drew Holiday actually made reference to that too. He said, yeah, it is different when you come here and you put this jersey on, because you're not just playing against the opponent across from you. There's ghosts in that building, even though it's not the old Garden. They brought him over, right? There's no exorcism. They want those ghosts there. So what he said wasn't exactly crazy. It's just, of course, him saying it. But in the end, yes, and I agree with you, Jay. I do think this, despite a Game 7 shot that will live for the ages of what he did for Cleveland along with LeBron James, this for him is important if he can finally just put a rest and close the chapter on what has been for him a tumultuous part of his career. If he can have a big game tonight and they can extend this series, it does continue to kind of like launder his karma a little bit about what he's been as a player over the last couple of years.
And just saying, as all people that love basketball and that play basketball, you live for these types of moments. These are the moments that you want. Like, it's a chance for you to, you're never going to erase your past,
right,
but you can amend it in these type of moments. And I think that's the opportunity for Kyrie.
Look, it is very simple. There are a lot of great things that come. Here's the good news. You're playing for this incredibly significant historical franchise that has had a history of success that matches that of any American team in any sport. I mean, they are right there with the Yankees and anybody else that you want to name. That also comes with the bad news, which is everything involved with the Celtics is going to be magnified. It's going to take you to Red Auerbach and Bill Russell and Bob Cousy and Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and all the way through to anything is possible. And here they are again tonight with that. And that is a real thing.
Yeah, because here's the thing. The Celtics have won one championship in 38 years.
Right.
The Marlins have more World Series wins than they during the same time. Just being honest. So
You're going to get booed tonight. Let the record show.
That's why it
What a
is,
reference.
it is
You went
a,
Marlins.
That's why it is a thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not modern. It's historic. And it's like when you play for the Yankees, you chase records
Well,
from the 20s.
That's been
from
one
the
in 20
20s. You
years.
chase records.
That's
The
right.
last 20s, not this 20s. So
Yeah.
I do think there's something to that, but I also think that Kyrie is sort of showing himself here by the fact that he keeps bringing it back up. He's not past it yet. So tonight, even if they lose, he can help himself get past it, which could help later on.